The throne room of the celestial palace fell silent as the human was escorted through its towering crystal doors. Commander Jackson Reynolds moved with quiet confidence, his weathered combat gear a stark contrast to the ethereal beauty surrounding him. Courtiers in flowing robes of silver and gold whispered behind jeweled hands, their luminescent skin casting soft glows in shades of violet and azure. At the far end of the hall, seated upon a throne carved from a single piece of starlight-infused quartz, was Queen Sarilith. Her beauty was legendary across 17 systems, skin like polished moonstone, hair that flowed like liquid platinum, eyes that held the depth of nebulae. But today those eyes were hollow, ringed with the exhaustion of 3 weeks without sleep. 3 weeks since her daughter, Princess Curasson, had vanished. "Your Majesty," Jackson said, dropping to one knee in a gesture of respect. His voice was rough, scarred by years of service in the outer colonies. "I've brought news." Sarilith's hands gripped the armrests of her throne, her knuckles whitening. "Speak quickly, human. My patience has worn thin with messengers bearing empty promises." "I found her." The room erupted. Courtiers gasped, guards straightened, and the Queen's chief advisor, a tall luminary male named Velson, stepped forward with barely concealed suspicion. "Impossible. We've had our best trackers searching for weeks." The Void Syndicate left no trail. Jackson stood, meeting the Queen's gaze directly. "They didn't count on someone who thinks like them instead of like you. No offense, Your Majesty, but your people are too civilized to understand how criminals operate." "And you understand them," Velson challenged. "I was a bounty hunter for 15 years before I joined the Coalition Defense Force. I've tracked pirates across the Scorian wastes, infiltrated smuggling rings on Torret Prime, and broken up 3 different kidnapping operations." Jackson's jaw tightened. "I know how they think because I've spent my life bringing them to justice." Queen Sarilith rose from her throne, descending the steps with a grace that seemed to defy gravity. "Where is my daughter?" "Safe, on my ship, docked at the southern platform." Jackson paused, his expression shifting to something gentler. "Your Majesty, I need to prepare you. She's alive and physically unharmed, but..." "But what?" The Queen's voice cracked for the first time. "The Void Syndicate held her in a sensory deprivation chamber for most of her captivity. They wanted to break her spirit, make her compliant for ransom negotiations." Jackson's fists clenched. "She's been through hell. When I found her, she hadn't spoken in days." Sarilith swayed, and 2 attendants rushed to support her. She waved them away, straightening with visible effort. "Take me to her, now." The walk through the palace corridors felt endless. Jackson briefed the Queen as they moved, explaining how he'd tracked a minor financial transaction, a purchase of specialized containment equipment, back to an abandoned mining facility on Krelvar Station. How he'd infiltrated alone, neutralized 7 guards, and found the princess in the darkened chamber. "She didn't recognize me at first," Jackson said quietly. "Thought I was another captor. It took me an hour just to convince her I was there to help." They arrived at the southern platform where Jackson's ship, the Wanderer's Promise, sat gleaming under the palace lights. It was a modest vessel, a long-range scout ship modified for extended solo missions. Nothing like the grand cruisers of the Luminari fleet. As they boarded, Jackson led them to the medical bay. "I kept the lights low. She's sensitive to bright light after so long in darkness." The door slid open, revealing a small room bathed in soft amber light. On the medical cot sat a young woman who looked nothing like the radiant princess from the official portraits. Curason's platinum hair was tangled and dull. Her luminescent skin had faded to a pale gray, and her eyes, once bright as binary stars, stared blankly at the floor. "Curason," Queen Saralith breathed, rushing forward. The princess flinched violently, scrambling back against the wall. Her breath came in rapid, shallow gasps. Jackson stepped forward gently. "Your Highness, remember what we talked about. Your mother is here, you're safe now." N's eyes darted between them, wild and unfocused. Her lips moved, but no sound emerged. Saralith's composure shattered. She sank to her knees beside the cot, tears streaming down her face. "My starlight, my precious daughter, it's me, it's mother." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, Curason's hand trembled as she reached out, stopping just short of touching her mother's face. "Mother," the word was barely a whisper, rough from disuse. "Yes, yes, I'm here." Saralith carefully took her daughter's hand, holding it as if it were made of glass. "You're home, you're safe." N's face crumpled, and she collapsed into her mother's arms, sobbing with the kind of raw, broken sounds that spoke of weeks of suppressed terror. Saralith held her, rocking gently, whispering words in their native tongue, words of comfort, of love, of promises that no one would hurt her again. Jackson stepped back, giving them space. Velson, who had followed them aboard, approached him quietly. "How did you get her to trust you?" "Patience, time, and honesty." Jackson watched the reunion with an expression of profound relief. "I told her my name, told her about my daughter back on Earth. She's about the same age as the princess. Told her I understood being afraid and that I wouldn't leave until she felt safe enough to come home." "Your daughter," Velson said thoughtfully. "You're far from home yourself." "3 systems away, haven't seen Emily in 8 months. Jackson's voice held a note of longing. "But that's exactly why I couldn't leave the princess in that place. No parent should have to wonder if their child is suffering." After several minutes, the queen gently pulled back, cupping her daughter's face. "Can you speak, Starlight? Can you tell me what happened?" N's breath hitched. She looked at Jackson, who nodded encouragingly. They kept me in the dark, said they would release me if you paid. But every time the deadline came, they just moved it, extended it." Her voice grew stronger, though it trembled. "They said you didn't care enough, that you weren't paying because a princess was expendable." Saralith's face contorted with anguish. "Never, I would have given them the entire treasury. They never made contact. We received no demands." "They lied," Jackson interjected. "Classic psychological warfare. They wanted to break her spirit completely before making their move." A broken hostage is easier to control, easier to use for propaganda against the crown. N's eyes found Jackson's. "He came alone through the ventilation system. I heard fighting then the door opened. Light came in and I thought," she shuddered. "I thought they were coming to move me again, but it was him." "What did he say?" Saralith asked softly. A ghost of a smile crossed Curason's face. "He said, 'Your Highness, my name is Jackson Reynolds, and your mother sent me to bring you home. Now I'm going to step back and let you decide if you're ready to trust me. Take all the time you need.'" "You waited?" Velson asked, surprised. "For an hour and 47 minutes, Jackson confirmed. Sat outside that chamber while she watched me. Let her see I wasn't going to rush her, wasn't going to force her. Eventually, she asked if I really knew her mother. I showed her the hollow message the Queen had sent with my mission briefing." Saralith looked up at him with wonder. "You showed a traumatized hostage a classified military briefing. I showed a scared young woman proof that her mother loved her and was searching for her." Jackson's expression softened. Sometimes protocol matters less than compassion. N reached out and took Jackson's hand, surprising everyone. He carried me out when my legs wouldn't work, talked to me the whole time about Earth, about oceans and forests and his daughter's graduation, kept my mind focused on something other than the fear. For 3 days during the journey back, we talked, Jackson added, about everything and nothing. I learned she loves stellar poetry and hates formal banquets, that she wants to study xenobiology but worries it's not royal enough, that she's afraid of disappointing you, Your Majesty, by being too curious about common things. Saralith's tears flowed anew. Oh, my starlight, you could never disappoint me. He said you'd say that, Kurasan whispered. I didn't believe him. The Queen looked at Jackson with an expression of profound gratitude. You gave me back my daughter. More than that, you gave her back herself. Name your reward, Commander Reynolds. Anything within my power is yours. Jackson shook his head. I don't need a reward, Your Majesty. I did what any decent person would do. Nevertheless, you will be compensated, I insist. Then Jackson hesitated. Let me visit sometimes. Let me see that she's okay. I've gotten attached to the kid. N smiled, a real smile this time. I'd like that. You promised to tell me more about Earth's oceans. And I will. Jackson squeezed her hand gently before releasing it. But right now you need your mother, you need your home, and you need time to heal. Over the following weeks, Kurasan's recovery became the palace's primary focus. Saralith rarely left her daughter's side, and slowly the princess began to emerge from the shadow of her trauma. Her skin regained its luminescence, her hair its shine. Her voice grew stronger, more confident. True to his word, Jackson visited. At first weekly, then monthly as his duties called him elsewhere. But he always came back, always checked in. He brought stories of his travels, hollow images from his daughter on Earth, and a patient ear for whenever N needed to talk about the darkness. On one such visit, 6 months after the rescue, Saralith invited him to a private audience in the palace gardens. Cherry blossom equivalents drifted on alien breezes, and the light of 3 moons painted everything in silver. She speaks now, the Queen said simply. Really speaks, about her dreams, her fears, her hopes for the future. For weeks after you brought her back, she barely whispered. Now she addresses the court, engages with ambassadors, even laughs. Saralith turned to him, her eyes bright. You did more than rescue her body, Commander Reynolds. You rescued her spirit. She rescued herself, Jackson replied. I just gave her a reason to try. By treating her like a person instead of a princess, by being honest about your own life, your own struggles, by showing her that strength isn't about never being afraid, it's about being afraid and choosing to trust anyway. Jackson watched as N appeared in the distance, walking with a group of young nobles, laughing at something one of them said. She's going to be a remarkable leader someday. Thanks to you. Thanks to you, Your Majesty. You gave her a foundation of love strong enough to survive being tested. All I did was remind her it was still there. Queen Saralith placed a hand on his shoulder. Then I suppose we both learned something from this human who understands the darkness well enough to lead others back into the light. As they stood together in the moonlight, watching the princess reclaim her life one smile at a time, Jackson felt a profound sense of peace. He'd rescued countless people in his career, but this one, this fragile, brave young woman who'd chosen to trust a stranger in her darkest hour, would always hold a special place in his heart. And when N looked up, saw him, and waved with genuine joy, he knew that some rescues transcended duty. Some became family.